Good evening. I'm Jim Ziegler, the Executive Director of the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum. I'd like to welcome you to our annual Rebecca Lukens Award ceremony. Tonight we have two great recipients. We have Minnie McNeil, who was our 2020 Rebecca Lukens Award recipient, and Karen Marshall, who is the 2021 recipient. We were unable to have a meeting of this nature last year because we hadn't developed the Zoom and those types of things. So we will be honoring both gals tonight. We'll honor Minnie from 7 to 7:30, and then we'll honor Karen from 7:30 to 8. I'd like to review the annual process with you, if I may, of how the selection occurs. We do have a committee made up of community members and previous recipients of the Rebecca Lukens Award. We begin meeting in January of each year to have nominations made, and we do take nominations from the floor. We did have a recipient who was nominated by a non-committee member, and we let the public know that through social media now. Then a ballot is developed from the nominations. The nominations ask for a bio, and then the nominators, we have a meeting, and they generally get up and defend their nomination. In February, we call a vote. In March, we make an announcement. The announcement occurs in March because that's Women's History Month. So it's very appropriate there. And then May, we like to have the ceremony. So here we are. It's May already this year. So that's the process that we take. If you'll forgive me, the qualifications that we look for in a recipient are leadership, resilience, courage, and strategic outlook. They give their time and expertise to make Coatesville or Chester County or the region a better community and act as an inspiration to the community. They demonstrate self-motivation, leadership, creativity, dedication, and commitment in pursuing their service. That's the leadership portion. They show extraordinary dedication and excellence, resilience. They demonstrate stability, innovation, perseverance, courage in the face of adversity. That's courage, of course. And follow the ideals of honesty, moderation, and fair dealing in all business transaction. Strategic outlook. So those are the qualities of Rebecca Lukens in our mind. And so our recipients exhibit these qualities. So that's the process. And that's what leads us to Minnie and Karen tonight. And if you'll bear with me, I will go through a short PowerPoint with you, if I may, to give you a little more background. This is the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum. Our mission is, of course, all about iron and steel. The history in Coatesville and the region. We collect, preserve, exhibit, and interpret iron and steel heritage in relationship to the nation. Rebecca Lukens was America's first female industrialist. She was born in 1794. Her parents were Isaac and Martha Webb Pennock, and the Pennock name is well known in southern Chester County. Isaac Pennock had his family was a recipient of a William Penn land grant. He was the son of Joseph Pennock Jr., the grandson of Christopher Pennock, first family ironmaster when he sold his farm to buy the Federal Slitting Mill down in Rokeby, south of 82 and Gumtree Road. And he purchased a sawmill from Moses Coates, and he converted it into a slitting mill. Westtown School is familiar to many. That's where Rebecca went to school, his daughter. She attended Westtown and studied bookkeeping, mathematics, geography, penmanship, and more. And then she went on to Wilmington Friends School. In July of 1810, Isaac Pennick moved north from Rokeby to where we are now. This was a 110-acre working farm with a sawmill, which he converted into a slitting mill. It is the longest continuously operating iron and steel mill in North America. It still operates. That's where many people think, oh, it's no longer Lukens. It's finished, but it is not. They still make steel. The company was first known as the Brandywine Iron Works and Nail Factory. Dr. Charles Lukens married Rebecca in 1812. He was a practicing physician in Philadelphia. He left his medical practice and came to what is now Coatesville to run the iron mill for his father-in-law, Isaac Pennick, and he and Rebecca were married. This slide shows you the highlighted portion is when they went from just making nails and barrel hoops and wagon wheel covers into iron plate. And this is an order for boilerplate. This actually became a steam engine, iron-hold steam engine, steamboat. In 1825, Rebecca finds herself a widow. Her father passed away, her husband passed away, and her son passed away, all within about 12 months of each other. Deathbed wish of Dr. Lukens is to have Rebecca carry on the plant. She was familiar with the operations as the firstborn child of an ironmaster, Isaac, and then operating Brandywine Iron Works with her husband, Charles. I won't steal some of Susie Brody's thunder here when we visit with Rebecca later, but she had some wonderful quotes, absolutely wonderful quotes. We have a Rebecca Lukens Resource Center on our website, and I would invite you to spend some time there because you can really learn a lot about Rebecca. But the dam and wheels and furnaces and tenant houses were all part of the early iron mill. They had superior mills, no doubt about it. She's considered the first female industrialist because she not only had an iron plant, rolling mill, but she had a 110-acre working farm, which she maintained, and she had warehouses and other such. She had salesmen in New Orleans and New England, so she quite a gal. Another picture of the ironworks and nail factory, an actual image of that factory. Of course, we're familiar with the high bridge. We know that the transportation was what really helped the rolling mill do well here at the intersection of what was then the Lancaster-Philadelphia Turnpike and then the locomotives on the Pennsylvania Main Line Railroad. This is a rendering of the rolling mill in approximately 1860. And if my pointer works well, here in the center with the derby, you'll see a gentleman. That is Dr. Charles Houston. Dr. Houston is also a Philadelphia physician who leaves his practice and comes to Coatesville, in this case, to run the rolling mill for his mother-in-law. Rebecca is getting ready to retire. Rebecca lived to almost her 60th birthday and passed away in 1854. Her grandson, A.F. Houston, became the president of the company, and his house you may be familiar with across the street from where we are is Greystone Mansion. His brother, C.L. Houston, were the sons of Dr. Charles Houston and Isabella. They named the company Lukens Steel in honor of Dr. Charles and Rebecca. It was known for its 206-inch rolling mill, which at one point was the world's largest rolling mill, had the widest plates. As a matter of fact, there was a sign on one of the buildings here on Route 30 that said so. But one of our competitors, and I forget where it's from, Japan or somewhere, came and built a 211-inch rolling mill. So they beat us by a little bit, but the 206 still runs. It runs on a weekly basis. These are a few of the products that are known for coming out of Coatesville, locomotives and fireboxes for steam trains, ships, lots of ships. Still build ships for the Navy. Submarines, they still build submarines for the Navy. They have a contract now to replace the current Navy submarine fleet. Buildings such as the World Trade Center. We have 28 pieces of this steel made here in Coatesville. Bridges, the Verrazano Bridge, Seattle Space Needle. So her legacy is leadership, resilience, courage, strategic outlook, which we just reviewed. This is the Rebecca Lukens Award. These are the names of our previous recipients. These are photographs of our previous recipients. Mary Sullivan, Jane Davidson, Barbara Travellini, Gladys Flamer, Nancy Hannum, Tammy Kanzler, Regina Lewis, Molly Morrison, Marianne Rossi, Barbara Cohen, Frances Sheehan, Janet Klein, Sandy Momeyer, Minnie McNeil, and now Karen Marshall. And so with that, I will stop screen sharing and take a moment now to introduce Minnie. The National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum is pleased to announce the selection of the 2020 Rebecca Lukens Award recipient, Minnie McNeil. The award was established by the Greystone Society in order to honor an individual who exemplifies the qualities of Rebecca Lukens, America's first woman industrialist. Rebecca enacted the Quaker principles of simplicity, peace, and equality into her personal life and her business. In result, her character and resolve forged an American success story against the backdrop of the Industrial Revolution through her operation of the Brandywine Iron Works from 1825 until her retirement in 1847. The award recipient, Minnie McNeil, was born in Marion, South Carolina, and came to Coatesville at a young age. The Scott Senior High School graduate went on to lead the opening and operation of the W.C. Atkinson Memorial Community Service Center in Coatesville. Nestled on 822 East Chestnut Street, the center continues to operate 28 years after its inception and enhances Coatesville by providing community resources, referrals, affordable housing for individuals and families, shelter for homeless men, 5 supportive and transitional houses, and provides space for critical programmatic services and the promotion of a healthy lifestyle through education, preventative support, and cultural services. Minnie has enacted a steadfast commitment among challenges in many different ways during her lifetime. As with the community center, the outcomes have been rewarding. During her 33-year tenure as a nurse at Brandywine Hospital, Minnie served 10 years each on the boards of the American Cancer Society and Chester County Health Department. She traveled extensively as Director of Community Service, Disaster Response, Prison and Women's Ministries for the Adventist Church throughout the US, Canada, Europe, Africa, Panama, Bermuda, Bahamas. She represented her church on the Housing Committee for NVOAD, also coordinated responses to hurricanes, among many, in Haiti, the Caribbean, Missouri, and extended response for nearly 8 years in the Katrina aftermath. Each year, the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum hosts an award ceremony. In 2020, however, due to the current circumstances, we were unable to host the ceremony at that time. Therefore, it's a great honor to present the 2020 Rebecca Lukens Award to Minnie McNeil. And this is her Rebecca Lukens Award certificate. The Rebecca Lukens Award has been established to honor individuals who exhibit the qualities of Rebecca: courage, resilience, leadership, strategic outlook. And this is from the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum, and we're proud to present the 14th annual Rebecca Lukens Award to Minnie McNeil. This was signed May 13th, 2020, so it's been waiting here for her for a little while. If you were here, Minnie, I would present this to you. We were fortunate enough to be able to get a copy to her for this evening, so she has a copy in her possession. So Minnie, we are just delighted to have you as our 2020 Rebecca Lukens Award recipient. So if you'd like to say a word or two, you may.
Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate that. And yes, everyone can see my award here and the beautiful flowers that I received. I am honored to be named the 2020 recipient of the annual Rebecca Lukens Award by the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum. Following the amazing women that you just saw, 13 women that were previously awarded. And tonight, I'm honored to share in this honor with our 2021 recipient, Karen. When asked about my opinion on Rebecca Lukens a year ago, I reflected on the morning plenary session in Dallas, Texas. I was one of several hundred attendees from around North America. And the speaker, Dr. Lilith Wagner, spoke of her family's harrowing escape from a communist territory, their travel through Europe and then on to the United States. And we all sat riveted by the family's courage and their tenacity and their resolve. And then she said, and here I am in the United States and figuring it all out. And I read about a woman with courage and resilience and leadership and vision. And that woman's name, and this is about 25 years ago, she said, and that woman's name was Rebecca Lukens from a place in Pennsylvania called Coatesville. Well, you can imagine the pride I felt that day among those hundreds of others, and the honor that I feel this evening. So on behalf of my teammate, Andrew, of 56 years, my 3 sons, my daughters in love, my grands and my great-grands, and extended family, thank you, Jim and committee, for this memorable award.
Well, thank you, Minnie. Truly appreciate your words and your comments. And through that, I think this would be an appropriate moment for us to hear from Rebecca Lukens herself. And so if she is available, we'd like to have her say a few words. Rebecca?
Well, I'd like to welcome you all to Brandywine. Isn't it a lovely evening? And it looks beautiful around here. I must tell you, it didn't look like that when my husband and I first came here. It was late in 1816, I believe. Everything was in dilapidated condition about the mill, house, and farm. Repairs were urgently needed, and Charles and I bore the whole cost. Dr. Lukens was quite discouraged, and in fact, we considered moving the family to Philadelphia, where Charles would re-engage his medical practice. I often told my father back then that we had too much to do, that the ironworks should have been put in good working order before we came. Invariably, his reply was, "What you're doing now for yourselves will benefit you in the future. For when I am gone, this ironworks will belong to you." It wasn't long after we came that Charles made a decision that changed our lives. He decided to attempt to roll boilerplate. Now, boilers, of course, were needed for the new steam power. This was quite risky, for it was a whole new branch of the iron industry, but he had high hopes for its success. Does he know that my husband, Dr. Charles Lukens, was the first iron master in America to successfully roll commercial boilerplate? Oh, but those were difficult times. The high costs of repairs, the challenges in refitting the mill to roll boilerplate. But most of all, I remember that as a time of deep personal losses. Our son Isaac was born in 1821, but died while still a babe. Isabella was born not long after her death. It was about that same time that the dam that held the water that powered the mill was destroyed in a spring freshet. We had to completely rebuild the dam, replace the water wheels, the pinion housings and other casings and other equipment of the mill. All our assets were deeply involved in our establishing this new business of rolling boilerplate. So Charles had to borrow from my father for all these much needed repairs. It seems we were just beginning to see the recovery when my father, Isaac Pennock, died in 1824. His will did not leave the ironworks to me. He left farms to my two brothers, Isaac and George, even though George was still a minor. But all the rest was put in the care of our mother, with a codicil added to the will that indicated that when my sister Mary Ann came of age, the real estate could be divided among the daughters. As the eldest, I could choose the ironworks. In 1825, our beloved son Charles died at the age of 7. His death had a devastating effect on my health, and I soon learned I was expecting another child. Then in June that same year, I lost my dear and excellent husband and commenced my long, bitter, lonely struggle with life. This parting by death is a sorrowful thing for those that are left behind to mourn the loss of what gave them pleasure in life. I will not dwell on my feelings back then, but when I looked around me, there was difficulty and danger on every side. I was left with a promise I made to my dying husband. Charles asked me to continue with the ironworks, and I promised to comply. Indeed, I knew I must do something for my daughters. And so, with considerable fear, but perhaps more courage, I began my struggle for a livelihood. I think I must have possessed some energy of character, for I look back on it now and wonder at my daring. But we are not gathered here to listen to an old woman reminisce about life's challenges. We are here to honor two women whose character and courage and perseverance have enabled them to make great contributions to their community. And so, for this, I will turn you back to Executive Director Jim Ziegler.
Thank you, Rebecca, for your kind words and thoughts from days gone by. It is the reason that we gather here, because of you and your perseverance. We do have a few guests who would like to say a few words to you. I believe we have City Council President Linda Lavender Norris, and she would like to make a few remarks.
Jim, I don't think President Lavender Norris is on. She had a slight emergency that she had to attend. So on behalf of our president and city council members, I want to extend first the apologies that she wasn't able to make it. But on behalf of the city council, just want to extend this great thanks to you and to the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum for the outstanding community building and preservation of an industry that pretty much put Coatesville on the map. And so thank you for that. And also I just want to thank, this wonderful woman that I'm looking at, Mrs. McNeil, for the outstanding work that she has done, not only in the city of Coatesville, but for the surrounding area as well. You are truly a treasure. You are the essence of everything in this description in terms of the resilience, the leadership, the courage of a Rebecca Lukens. And we hope that you will continue in her spirit doing the wonderful things in the city of Coatesville and the surrounding area. So thank you.
Thank you, James. City Manager James Logan, thank you for those words. I believe we're joined by, and know that we're joined by, Chester County Commissioners Marion Moskowitz and Josh Maxwell, and if they'd like to say a few words on behalf of the county.
Yes, I'm just overwhelmed by everything that Minnie has accomplished, and she's such a great example for girls, even women. People look to find someone to emulate and look up to, and certainly Minnie has that quality. In Chester County, we have a lot of great women that you've already celebrated, but Minnie has an extraordinary background, and she's so deserving of this award for her, all of the things that she has done. The list is long for the recipient, so you have to be very qualified to get this award, and it is an honor to be here and share this evening with you. Thank you for having us. We have a citation for you. I don't know if you can see it. We will be sending it. Certainly, you're very deserving, and we're grateful to be giving this to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That's an extended honor. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Truly appreciate your words. We have State Representative Dan Williams with us tonight, and I'd like to invite him to make some comments. Representative Williams.
Jim, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this celebration. And yes, it's true. Minnie McNeil is legendary, not just in the local area of Chester County. She is what I would call global. And her representation of Chester County and specifically Coatesville as a part of the 74th is worthy of celebration. And tonight, I'm happy to be a part of this on behalf of the General Assembly. Ms. McNeil, let me just say this. that when Maya Angelou is talking about virtues, she has suggested that the greatest virtue is courage, because no matter what other virtue you might possess, whether it's leadership, whether it's resilience, whether it's innovation, perseverance, without courage, none of the others can be maintained consistently. She would suggest that without courage, all of the other virtues take place erratically. And one of the reasons why I'm happy to speak on behalf of the State House, as well as the members of the 74th, and say congratulations to you, is because one of the things you've demonstrated over the decades is consistency laced with courage. And so I need you to know that you've made us all proud. And on a night like tonight, when you're receiving the Rebecca Lukens Award, one that identifies perseverance and resilience and innovation, I want you to also know that we're underlining courage and saying thank you for making a difference, not just in this community, but in becoming a model for others to follow. God bless you and have a great evening.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And Minnie, we have something that we've had here for a while. It's from the State Senate of Pennsylvania. Congratulatory remarks signed by State Senator Andrew Dinniman. So we will be certain to get this to you as well.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our remarks from government officials. And so without further ado, we'll move from 2020 to 2021. My notes say to review the criteria of the Rebecca Lukens Award, but I think we've done that pretty well throughout this presentation to Minnie. So I will move on to the 2021 Rebecca Lukens Award recipient. The same qualifications and criteria were used as a measurement for Karen Marshall. Here to do the introductions for Karen Marshall are Sandra Momeyer. Sandra is the Moore Archivist of the Moore Archives of Historic Yellow Springs, and Molly Morrison, the Board President of Uptown Nauer Performing Arts and the former President of Natural Lands Trust. So Sandy and Molly, if I may turn it over to you, please.
Thank you. Good evening. It's my great honor this evening to join with Molly in celebrating Karen Marshall and the Rebecca Lukens Award. There's no one who deserves it more. She surely epitomizes the four qualities demonstrated by Rebecca Lukens. Karen has certainly been a leader in preservation and interpretation since 2007, when she joined the county. She supported all the programs that were in place, but spearheaded and grew programs that were new or fledgling. And she has also honored and remembered the work of Jane Davidson and Jane's Army. And that is what a leader does. Here are some other things that this leader has done. She initiated the Historic Atlas Project, updating a 1979-81 resource atlas, which includes 73 municipalities with historic properties identified and mapped. She organized and sustained the Iron and Steel Heritage Partnership, which celebrated 300 years of iron and steel in Chester County, and which has evolved into heritage tourism, recreation, and land preservation in northern Chester County. She directed printing of a new brochure and an exciting website to highlight our 40 partner sites. And who can forget town tours and village walks? In its 27th year, she has added so much to the original tours: new sites, new villages, created themes for the tours, and even trolley tours. It is a highlight of summer in Chester County. This year's town tours is participating with the Chester County Juneteenth Festival, Journeying Toward Freedom. And Karen has done so much to gather us all together again on this important mission. And one of the most important things she does is providing technical assistance and training to the municipalities, historical commissions, HARBs, and to individuals regarding historic preservation protection, surveys and documentation, National Register nominations, Section 106 reviews on many bridges throughout the county, local ordinances with application guides, as well as structures, reports, and impact studies. It's really a lot to cover for this county, and Karen does so much. I want to say that I worked with Karen in all these projects at historic Yellow Springs and while chair at the Historic Commission in Schuylkill Township. Several years ago, Karen came to our board of supervisors in defense of our historic ordinance, and they were speechless when she left. Knowing she always has our backs and has been so beneficial to our work and allowing preservation to move forward, I thank her for always being there for us with her excellent leadership. And Karen is also resilient. She gives so much of her time and talent that is available morning, noon, and night. One example of her resiliency was transforming the 2020 Town Tours and Village Walks program in the time of COVID last summer. She planned a virtual program to be viewed with 6 sites participating. And with Karen's support, we were able to connect people and their communities when connections were very limited. And she stepped up to the plate to make sure it happened. She also demonstrates courage every day in her pursuit of preservation in Chester County. For those of us who work in preservation, we know that our work can be difficult as we face boards of supervisors, HARBs, historic property owners, and more. And Karen always steps up to support and fight for all the historic partner organizations. She is a cheerleader and a guard dog of our work, and we know we can count on her to be there. Regarding strategic outlook, which is the final attribute, Karen proves that she is always out there assisting, planning, developing, training, and even directing traffic at town doors. She is a presence we all reach out to, knowing she will have solutions and resolutions for us. She constantly strives to make Chester County the best it can be for the long run and a great place for all of us to live. Karen is an inspiration to all of us. I have only touched on a basic outline of her work, and Molly will provide further comment. Her scope and outreach are deep, and she tackles all with great passion. She leaves a great legacy, which is our duty to carry forth. Everyone has a story to tell, working with Karen and the great work that she does. I personally thank Karen for her support to me, and especially for being a friend. She so deserves the Rebecca Lukens Award bestowed on her tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy.
You're welcome, Karen.
Our friendship. Thank you.
Hi. Hi, I'm Molly Morrison, and I want to first thank Jim and the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum for shining the spotlight on women such as Karen and Minnie, women who are game changers, who make an impact every single day. The review of Minnie's lifetime of accomplishments is inspirational, motivational. It makes me feel as though I need to step it up a gear. And my congratulations, of course, to Minnie. I'll pivot now to Karen and tell a little bit of my background. My father was a history teacher, and although his career pretty quickly evolved into educational administration, he never ever lost his passion for history, especially Chester County history and its events and its sites, its places, and its people. We lived in Schuylkill Township, but he worked in Westchester. It's Greek Revival architecture showcasing a thriving architectural history, intact and very special, especially to me as a child coming to visit him in his offices in Westchester. The energy and the architecture of Westchester left an impact on me that has completely informed my love of historic preservation. He was a friend of Christian Sanderson, and he loved stories of the past, which Chris, who was the consummate storyteller, brought alive to younger generations. And I mentioned my father because he was one of a generation who, after the war, came home to a county that was quickly changing, but which never ever lost its reverence for where it came from. This was characteristic of many people who then, as now, know that Chester County is essentially a special place, and that recording, revisiting, preserving, and telling about our history is the key to our future. But every story needs a teller, every task needs a doer, and every cause needs a leader. And for the past 14 years, Chester County has had Karen Marshall to fill all those roles. Like open space, historic preservation should be viewed in two ways: the work on the ground, the preservation of a building, the protection of a battlefield, the creation of a historic district, but then should be understood for the importance of the network across boundaries, the beauty of the whole. As a leader in historic preservation in Chester County, Karen has not only been critical in the protection of individual sites, portions of the Brandywine Battlefield, Fricks Lock Village, the Welsh Baptist Historic District, for which she has provided resources and technical support, but she has also helped us to appreciate the whole of Chester County's historic landscapes and for the stories they tell. As Sandy mentioned, Town Talks and Village Walks, started in 1994 by Karen's predecessor, has hosted thousands of guests on walking tours and historic sites, and continues to generate a high level of interest and appeal as people reconnect to Chester County's historic past. The Iron and Steel Partnership, co-founded by Karen, featured new experiences that highlight Northern Chester County's significant iron and steel landscapes. The documentation of the Campaign of 1777, which led to 5 American battlefield protection grants, documenting and mapping the Battle of the Brandywine, the Battle of the Clouds, and the Battle of Paoli, involving over 30 municipalities in Chester County. And as Karen mentioned, my favorite, the Historic Resource Atlas Project, which updated a historic survey, but with GIS database and an atlas of each of Chester County's 73 municipalities' historic resources and sites. Karen will give all due credit to the volunteers who are the backbone of historic preservation in Chester County, and their work is incredibly worthy of acknowledgement and celebration. But as I said, a story needs a teller and a cause needs a leader. We are thankful and fortunate that Karen Marshall has been a stellar leader and advocate for historic preservation in Chester County and is so deserving of the Rebecca Lukens Award. Thank you.
Molly, thank you so much. I'm so honored.
Thank you, Molly. Appreciate both you and Sandy's remarks. And so, Karen, if you want to take a moment and give us some of your thoughts, we'd appreciate it.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much, both Sandy and Molly, for your words. I just wanted to thank you again. So, Minnie, I'm so impressed. You said everything quickly, and unfortunately, you all have a historian here, so you got to sit back for a minute while it takes me a little longer to thank everybody. So I'd like to dedicate my remarks tonight to 3 people: Mary Jo Arnott, who introduced me to Chester County when I was 33 through Chester County Day, and led a group of us every October until her untimely passing 4 years ago. It was this special place that inspired me to return to graduate school in historic preservation and to move my family here in 1992. To the amazing and tireless Jane Ellis Davidson, who remembered every fact she ever learned, along with everyone's children's and grandchildren's names that she ever met. I don't think this is an exaggeration. This was helpful as she built the network that has preserved so much of the amazing Park Without Boundaries, as she used to call her county. And finally, a gentleman and consummate preservationist, the Iron and Steel Museum's Gene Diorio, who, like Jane and Mary Jo, could not conceive of a world without a built landscape that merged where we have been with where we are going. So first, thank you, Scott, Jim, Sam, our Iron and Steel Partnership Web Guru, the staff and the board of the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum, and the Lukens National Historic Landmark, the highest honor this country conveys on a historic place, for the Rebecca Lukens Award. I so admire your work to tell hers and many other Chester County stories, our deep Quaker roots in some of the earliest industry in the country, the great forges and furnaces, how they powered the rise of the United States and provided a base of steel for us to continue our great experiment in freedom and democracy for our people. Minnie, it's an honor to be standing here with you on this virtual platform and to join the members of the Rebecca Lukens Award family. Molly and Sandy, what can I say? I thank you from the bottom of my heart for honoring me in my work. I have so much respect for both of you. The nomination alone was enough reward for me. I want to thank my family and friends, and I want to call out my daughter, Catherine, and my husband, Hunt. I want to thank them for listening to endless theories on whatever history I was exploring and indulging me when we had to make a sudden turn to go explore some strange structure or record a building that never should have been built. That's one of our favorite family lists. I want to recognize my colleagues in the Chester County Planning Commission and our Parks and Preservation Department, and thank our county commissioners and elected officials for their inspiring leadership in supporting historic preservation. We couldn't do it without you. And to the board of the Chester County Historic Preservation Network and the network of historical commissions, committees, and HARBs, which it so ably represents, I can't say enough. The dedicated, energetic, and knowledgeable volunteers throughout the county, Jane's Army, it's been referred to, who make it their business to interpret and preserve the historic character of this place we call home. I have thoroughly enjoyed working with all of you and the very talented professionals that help you. Together, you've documented and interpreted and preserved an authentic and significant cultural landscape that reflects over 300 years of hard work, conscience in social issues, and conservation of land and built resources. In Pennsylvania, Chester County boasts the highest number of National Register sites outside of Philadelphia, and we have documented and preserved thousands of locally significant properties and districts. As a preservation planner in Wilmington, who's a friend of mine, has told me, we can tell people about what happened in Delaware, but we have to send them to Chester County to see what it actually looks like. What an honor. So as I hand over the Landscapes Appreciation chapter at the Planning Commission to our new Heritage Preservation Coordinator, Dan Krasnoff, and my colleague, Janine Spears, I want to ask everyone to think about this unique place and its future. Why is it so important that we continue to preserve Chester County's built heritage and to try to understand the stories it conveys? We will, of course, be celebrating our 250th anniversary as a nation soon, which is cause enough for really delving into our American story and seeing how our historic resources inform that narrative. But beyond that, why does it matter? For the answer, I always look to the introduction to the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. It states, The spirit and direction of the nation are founded upon and reflected in its historic heritage. The historic and cultural foundation of the nation should be preserved as a living part of our community life and development in order to give a sense of orientation to the American people. This is a profound statement. It is saying that preserving old places as historic by identifying the cultural and heritage values attached to them is critical to the quality of life and sense of place for our citizens. So how does this apply to Chester County? In 1682, William Penn's Quaker values of religious freedom and tolerance led to a culturally unique, diverse, and important colony. As our rich resources and proximity to Philadelphia inspired agricultural and industrial innovation, people of every color and nationality were drawn to our county for its well-paying jobs and determined efforts at tolerance and justice. As Rob Lukens, past president of the Chester County History Center, used to say, if it happened in the United States, it happened in Chester County first. That's perhaps an exaggeration, but I like to think it's not too far off the mark. How many taverns in this country did riders stop at, bearing copies of the Declaration of Independence the first night after it was signed? 2 make that claim in this county. Where were the Quaker virtues of tolerance, respect, nonviolence, and rights for women practiced more diligently? Could Rebecca Lukens be a more compelling example? How many communities in this country had to debate and practice what equality for all means within miles of the Mason-Dixon line, forced to make the decision of conscience whether or not to aid escaped slaves and to risk injury from their pursuers? Our Quaker abolitionists and free Black communities lived that reality. The uniquely preserved Chester County living landscape provides the opportunity to explore this heritage through authentic experiences that bring to life the county's evolution from our founding Quaker principles to today's modern world. But we are inching towards a problem that I've watched on the horizon and which I'm afraid may overwhelm our many accomplishments in promoting our historic resources here in Chester County. I hope you'll forgive me tonight if I bring this up. Our cultural heritage institutions and historic sites are in trouble and our volunteers are worried. There has been no significant source for funding in the county for the interpretation and preservation of our historic resources since the Great Recession of 2008. As we all know, all kinds of things happened to our financing. Places like the remarkable Iron and Steel Heritage Complex in Coatesville need the full attention and support of our leadership to inspire our citizens to action. So I would like to propose a challenge tonight. Just as a leader in open space and a leader in historic resource preservation and interpretation joined forces to nominate me, I would like to propose that we follow their union to inform our future. Let's commit to establishing a county funding source that works to build capacity and provide monies for the preservation of open spaces and historic places as one amazing cultural landscape. Our American story is not linear and ordered. It is messy and contradictory, like Jane Jacobs' vibrant urban sidewalks in healthy communities. It has many faces and stories. As we prepare for the future, let's make sure our complex landscape, built on ingenuity and tolerance, our uncommon heritage, is strong and healthy and ready to inform and inspire our diverse citizenry. In closing, I want you to know I have faith in our leadership and our residents. I still think Charles Biddle said it best back in 1780 when he observed, Judge Peters says all the great and strange people we have in Pennsylvania are from Chester County. Chester County has always been a remarkable place, and I know it will remain that way in your capable hands. Thank you, everybody. And again, I'm so honored.
Thank you, Karen. Very wonderful remarks. And I'd like to present to you also the Rebecca Lukens Award certificate And we'll be sure to get that to you for your courage, resilience, leadership, and strategic outlook. I believe we have more remarks from Commissioners Moskowitz and Maxwell. If I could welcome them to the podium.
Commissioner Maxwell, you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so used to you going first, Marion. I was trying to wait my turn.
We split it up tonight. Bear with us.
We haven't seen each other in a very long time. We haven't figured this out yet. One, Karen, it's such an honor to be with you again. I had the privilege of being a guide on your walk that you did in Downingtown, I think about 2 years ago in Johnsontown, and I learned a whole lot about my hometown. And I really appreciate all you've done to educate generations of residents in Chester County about what they're doing, about the history here. And you've certainly raised the bar in terms of what the county can do into the future. And we will take your charge under advisement and take it seriously and review it with the appropriate authorities. It's just an honor to be here with you and this wonderful group of people to talk about how wonderful Chester County is by way of giving you this award, because I know very few people have as much respect for Chester County as you do. So hopefully we can pick up that torch and keep it going in your honor. And it is just a great opportunity to be with you tonight. And I know I think Marion has the citation.
I have the citation here. It's hard. I think it's hard to see, but we do have it, Karen, and we will get it to you as quickly as possible. And thank you for everything that you've done. You're an inspiration.
Thank you both, commissioners. I believe we have State Senator Carolyn Comita with us tonight. Senator Comita.
I'm sorry, I'm Julia Loving. I'm from her office. Unfortunately, she had a conflict, so she is not here. She wishes she could be here with these amazing women and to celebrate them. And we do have a citation for Karen Marshall, and somehow we will get it to you, unless you have it. I don't know if you have it. Do you actually have it?
We will get it to her. We have
okay, it. Wonderful, wonderful. Anyway, I'm so sorry. She's very sorry she could not be here. And it was so inspiring to hear you both, hear about both of you and to hear you both speak. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to note to both Minnie and Karen, U.S. Representative Christy Houlihan, unable to join us tonight, we'll get you a citation by mail. I asked for an electronic version to read, but I think I've had enough to speak about tonight, so unfortunately, we'll just mail it to you. So without further ado, bring this to a close. Wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you all for attending. We would like to thank our sponsors, the Citadel, PICO, Prosper Bank, Unruh, Turner, Burke and Freeze, among others, but they were our leading sponsors. So thank you all for making this a memorable evening for not only the recipients, but for those of us here at the National Iron and Steel Heritage Museum. We really enjoy Rebecca. We enjoy her story. We enjoy working here in her legacy. And it's just, it's tremendous, because I did a talk today over at the Westchester Country Club, and it's virtually unknown that the plant is still operating. So it has changed now. Lukens and Bethlehem and ArcelorMittal, ISG, and now it is Cleveland Cliffs. So we're a North American company again. Always have been, but just part of the global network. So thank you all very much for celebrating Rebecca and her legacy this evening. Do take good care. See you soon.
Thanks, Jim. Bye, everyone.